One
No more
click and
scheduling.
your most painful analytical task of the entire week is done. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really exciting.
So that's also, you're getting better employee engagement, better satisfaction, hopefully less turnover because of that, as well as saving your store managers time so they can go spend time where it's going to be more valuable to them and for your overall business.
Exactly. Yes.
Welcome back.
Welcome back
to another episode of the Innovate on Purpose podcast,
hosted by Matt Mueller.
best-selling author of The Mindful Innovator and Rethink Retail's top retail expert.
We help retail leaders find clarity so they can grow their businesses purposefully.
We will uncover mindful tips, innovative solutions, and purposeful leadership advice and strategies that you can apply immediately to your retail innovation.
Are you ready to innovate on purpose?
Hey, before we jump into the episode today, I just wanted to say thank you for hitting the play button. You being here fires me up, and I cannot wait to share with you the insights that are going to make a difference in your business. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and leave a review so I can reach as many retail leaders as possible. They too need to hear this. Okay, let's do it. Welcome to Innovate on Purpose, the podcast where we dig into how today's most forward-thinking companies are scaling innovation with intention. I'm your host, Matt Mueller. Today, we're joined by Ryan Holm from Helzberg Diamonds, VP of Innovation and Operations. Helzberg is a brand known for trust and tradition, now pushing the boundaries of retail innovation. We'll talk about how Helzberg is reimagining the frontline experience with AI tools like Zipline Coach and AI-driven workforce scheduling. It's a conversation about investing in employees, solving real customer pain points, and proving that when you elevate the associate experience, you elevate the customer experience. So let's get started. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for that welcome. That intro got me excited for this conversation.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's only the start of it because this is gonna be a cool conversation. We spoke a few times, and I really am just digging the way that you and Helzberg is really thinking about the employee experience. Like when we think about innovation, most of the time we're thinking about the consumer experience, but like it really does begin with the employee. And I just love the approach that you're taking in that fashion. So it's gonna be a cool conversation. But Ryan, before we get into that awesome innovation that you're doing, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at Helzberg.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So my title at Helzberg is Divisional Vice President of Retail Innovation and Operations. I'm really proud to say, though, I've a 10-year career at Helzberg, and the vast majority of that was spent out in our stores. So I actually started out as a store manager, bounced around a bunch of different locations in that role, and then a regional manager where I managed, a few state territories and different locations before I found myself in this area. So it really is a position that didn't exist prior. And I think through the experience of COVID, we really saw a use case for this role that I'm in. So I am very blessed. I report into the store operations team, but really have kind of one foot in a lot of different departments. So I love to say that I get the benefit of working probably more collaboratively with different departments than almost anyone else in the organization. So it's been a really fun journey.
That's awesome. I love that you started in the stores too. That's where I started my journey as well, was in the stores. And maybe that's why we had like the same kind of excitement around starting with the employee, because we were the employee, right? We dealt with employees day in, day out, and we knew what they were going through. So, but that's awesome that, Helzberg has decided to invest in this type of role and put you in that position because you have that experience. That's really cool. So Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about like some of the biggest challenges that Helzberg is facing, and like what you were facing and creating a consistently great customer experience at the front line? Like, what are some of those big challenges that you were like first, like really trying to solve for?
Yeah, there's certainly plenty of them. So, one of them is just in the world of jewelry, right? Everyone wants their love story to be unique because it is, right? And so being able to curate product that was both, competitively priced, as well as having just a wide array of customization options and the ability to create one of a kind pieces was huge for us. So there's that among the other issues, which are maybe less exciting to talk about, which is just the same challenges all retailers are facing, right? Retail is a really fast paced environment. Turnover is a challenge. Our managers and associates are really asked to do it all, right? They've got to serve the customer, maintain visual standards, hit sales and other KPI targets, be great leaders, motivate, coach, train, recruit. I think all of that puts store leaders in a place where it's really easy to be busy without being productive.
Mm,
And at least from my perspective, and the thing that got me interested in this journey is just that rewarding feeling that you see when you realize you can free up a store manager from an administrative task, right? And giving them back that time doesn't mean you're just giving back time where they're now just hanging out, right? They're going to go do something really meaningful and powerful that only they can do, like go recruit or strengthen a relationship with a team member or, train or coach someone.
that's awesome. Yeah, it reminds me like of the matrix that I use with a lot of my clients, where it's like it's always measuring out impact versus effort, right? So like I do like a matrix, a 2x2 matrix, where one line is how much impact will this have, and how much effort will it take to get this done. And our checklists do get so big, or the initiatives get there's so many different initiatives to where we wind up spending time in those administrative things or things that aren't going to really move the needles. I always like to kind of put it out. It's like, okay, well, what's the amount of effort that's going to take to do this? And what's the amount of effort? Just so I can say, okay, I'm going to do the one that has the most amount of impact for the least amount of effort and just get it done. That's where you're going to, get the best results. So understanding all the different challenges that you're facing at Helzberg Diamonds, like how did you sort through it all and say, okay, well, here's the thing that we're going to tackle. And what was the first thing that you decided to tackle?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, very similar to what you just described. It was that, right?
Oh, cool.
The other cool thing about working cross collaboratively is there isn't really a first thing, right? It's kind of at any given time, I have somewhere between 6 and 10 projects that are active, and in different phases, right? And some projects, it might be like, hey, you know what? I can tackle that. I can get that done this week. And other projects are 2 years long, right?
Mhm.
I would say, just to answer your question in a little bit more of an interesting way, one of the very first things that I tackled coming into this role out of the field was implementing a new workforce management solution, which has been really exciting. It's a partner of ours. They've been an excellent partner, Legion. They do really AI powered workforce management. And so that was the first big initiative that we got launched.
Tell us a little bit more about that. So what exactly is that program?
Yeah, so they do scheduling. So we feed in demand driver information such as traffic, transactions, and then they are able to use a trend and historical data to actually forecast out when we should expect the most customer demand. And then what they do, and what was really exciting to me, is to be able to take employee preferences. So not just the strict like, hey, I've got, my kid has a basketball game, I'm not available at all, but
Mhm.
actually to allow associates to have input to, hey, outside of my strict availability, here's when I really prefer to work. Here's when I'm neutral. Here's when I would prefer not to work if you can avoid scheduling me. They can take all of that into account to build the best possible schedule almost instantaneously, both for the business and to make sure that, our frontline employees have a great quality of life in the process.
That's awesome. I love how you're talking about it too, where it's not just about having the right amount of people at the right time, but it is also about that employee experience and giving them the best experience possible. It's like it's brilliant. It's all amazing. I would love to like so great solution. Like what were like the results from that? Like what did you like measure and how are you kind of tracking like the success of this program?
Yeah, there's certainly a variety of different metrics we're tracking, right? Like, so we're always kind of reassessing what those demand drivers are. How can we improve them? I would say the thing that I can share I'm probably most excited about is we actually surveyed both our end users, our associates using it to clock in and out, as well as our store managers who are using it to make their schedules. And our store managers, we surveyed all of them after launch. They were spending 66% less time making schedules every week once we launched this. It's a massive
Wow.
unlock. I mean, that's just a huge amount of time. We went from 47 minutes on average creating a schedule for each week down to 17.
That's amazing. Oh wow. That makes me excited. I want to work now as a store manager.
One
No more
click and
scheduling.
your most painful analytical task of the entire week is done. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
really exciting.
So that's also, you're getting better employee engagement, better satisfaction, hopefully less turnover because of that, as well as saving your store managers time so they can go spend time where it's going to be more valuable to them, and for your overall business.
Exactly. Yes.
That's awesome. So that's the AI workforce scheduling program, but I know you also have another program called Zipline Coach. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Zipline is our communications partner as well as recently our LMS partner. So they've been a phenomenal partner to us, and it really turned into go-to for everything, right? So it houses our resource library. It's where our store teams are going to get communication about upcoming promotions. And Zipline, being the great partner that they are, allows all of their brands to kind of essentially rebrand their instance of the communications platform. So our when we launched, our go-to for this tool was we refer to it as the huddle. So it's a reference to sports, right? Like before the big game, everyone's going to take a quick huddle, get together, figure out what they need, what information they need to win the game. That is kind of our approach to communications platform, is like, hey, when you clock into work, open up the huddle, check out what's going on for the day, check in with your team there. And they were a great partner to us, but recently, and the innovation I know you and I were chatting about recently, is this feature we call Coach. So that's our branding for it. Zipline calls it Zippy. It's their AI assistant. And it essentially, in natural language, much like a chat GPT, allows our associates to ask a question of who we are branding as Coach, right? To fit in with that analogy on the huddle. And Coach can essentially crawl our resource library and messages and return an answer to a specific question to our associates almost instantaneously. And then they can ask follow-up questions. So really quick and easy example is, you're putting out a new sign kit for a promotional plan. Rather than going to the promotional kit and scrolling through to find the relevant signs to your specific floor plan, you can just ask Coach to help you find that, and he'll immediately pull up a relevant answer and showcase it right there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that saves a lot of time having to go find the answer and just have it right there in your hands.
Yeah, it's super fun. And it's on brand, it's easy to engage with, and it's a quick way. If you have a follow-up, you can just get an answer versus having to go in and search for the right document and then scroll through that document to find the answer you're looking for.
Has there been any struggles with like implementing that? I know like a lot of times like with AI, we get like the hallucinations and information doesn't come back accurately. How did you like overcome that? Or have you overcome that? And what was that like, kind of just dealing with those obstacles?
Everything's always a journey, right? It's
It
never
is. It
perfect out of
is.
the box. I will say, here's what's super cool. So even though this Zippy, or Coach in our case, is obviously a large trained language model, right? Only has access to what's in our resource library. So what was really cool is, even out of the box, when we turn this feature on, a lot of times, if it can't find reference to what is being asked, Coach was just responding and saying, I don't know. Whereas your traditional large language model will hallucinate because it has access to everything under the sun.
Hmm.
So that's the first thing I'd say. The other thing is, the biggest, I guess, challenge we had in launching this, and we were in pilot for a little while with it, was not actually a problem with the tool. It was an issue with us not having a cleaned up resource, right? So if
Wow.
you have an outdated document in there or competing information, you sometimes will get the wrong answer. The cool thing about this is, when Coach answers your question, unlike a lot of large language models, Coach cites every source on where it found things. So it made it really easy for us as administrators to actually go in, conduct searches. And then if we found, okay, this is the wrong answer, we could actually figure out what outdated document, caused the misinterpretation and just archive it and get it out of there, right? So it took us a while to do our own library cleanup, and then just, moving on, there's always just refinements of making sure that the right things are in the resource library to be able to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's neat. I love that, how it's just like it's off of the public domain, so this way it is only looking at Helzberg resources, which is so important, and definitely helps with what's kind of just keeping that like kind of scoped in. So it makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah,
what were you
exactly.
like? What was like the KPIs that you were looking to measure with a project like that? Like what were you looking to improve upon there?
For us, it's really about associate satisfaction, right? I would love to know exactly how much time associates were spending searching for the information they were looking for,
Mm.
and then how much time they are after, right? Because that's the key thing we're trying to improve is just speed to information. Unfortunately, I don't think that, the ROI on figuring out a way to measure that is really worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
But I can say that, that the secondary metric that, we're looking at is just what's associate satisfaction with getting the answers they need. And that has been remarkably high since we've launched Coach.
What do they love about it the most? I guess probably just the obvious, but is there anything like any kind of sound bites you're getting that really surprised you from them?
No, honestly, that's a really good question, but no big surprises. We just get people like, hey, I love having Coach. I'm able to, and we get examples of like things that, hey, I had a customer waiting and I needed this information. I tried traditional search and I couldn't find it. And then I remembered Coach was there and I asked and I got the information I was looking for instantly. So those kind of anecdotes really, make it's exciting feedback to get.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing better than putting something into stores and then getting the feedback and especially positive feedback about how much they love it. So it's always cool.
Yeah, exactly.
But look, innovation is tough. Like pushing things into stores can be a real challenge. And you put two AI focused initiatives in place in a very short period of time. So congratulations on that. Kudos to you for doing it. But scaling is something that is extremely tough for us to implement into retail. Like maybe we can get a test out there. Maybe we could try a little something, but to actually scale it across the brand, that it can be a challenge. Like, what were some of the challenges that you faced in scaling, and what are some strategies that you can share with the audience today?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've really only recently come to realize what a benefit I had in rolling both of these out is just being so plugged in and coming up through our stores. Having someone in an IT project who has lived through what the end user is going to do with the product is just so incredibly valuable. But that's on the back end of a project, right? And going to roll it out, there's all this knowledge that, I had the benefit of being able to say, no, we needed to solve this, this, and this in a way where it's not me just regurgitating, a quick case study or a phone call I had with an associate and trying to capture the requirements. I've lived them. And so I had the benefit of that. On the other end, though, on the rollout and training, I I would just encourage other organizations to really involve people who are either actively on the front lines or who were recently in the front lines of the organ, because the credibility that comes with that of being able to roll that out and have a voice attached to it where those that you're rolling it out to are saying, wow, we trust this person. Yes, we're open to a new idea. I think goes a long way.
Hmm.
And then the other thing I'd add into that is just the transparency element, right? It can be scary putting over a new tool, over the wall and out into the field and saying, "Hey, we're asking you to use this," but being able to transparently say, "This is new. It's probably not perfect yet, and we're excited to make it the best that it can be," and own that piece of it versus trying to pretend you've created the perfect solution on the first iteration.
Yeah.
I think also really lends to credibility and enthusiasm because your frontline associates then feel like they get to be a part of that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember like one of my first innovation projects that I worked on. We're implementing into a store as a new service model. And I went to the store and I told every single employee there, hey, guess what? We're going to change the way that you serve customers and it's going to be awesome. And I gave them this new model to do. And I thought this was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I left the store and I got feedback saying that the employees were like, this guy is nuts. Like he comes in, he says, he's going to change my life. He's going to change everything in the way I do it. Like to me, I thought I was doing him a favor, but meanwhile, they're like you just disrupted my whole day. Even though the process sucked, it was my
Yeah,
process.
that guy moved my cheese.
Exactly. So going back in and say, okay, well, look, we need your help. Like, and that was the way that I always framed things after that was like, hey, I have an idea. We need your help to really come full circle on this thing. Help us develop it. And once we started coming to them with questions and making them be a co-creator of that innovation, holy cow, like, what a difference. Like the buy-in was just through the roof and the concepts were 10 times better because they had the answers. Like they're the ones in the stores, not us. Like, I might have been in the store at one point, but it's important to make sure you're continually getting the feedback from those that are living it day in and day out.
What's so cool about that, and I know like you're, a Frontlines guy yourself, so you'll understand this, but like the networks in Frontlines retail or grocery are strong, right? Like
Mhm.
people have friends in other locations, they all talk to each other. And so what's neat I found is when you involve them from the start and get that buy-in, obviously none of us have the bandwidth to talk to every frontline associate, right? But when
Yeah.
you get enough of a sample size, that word spreads that, hey, this tool, we're being asked our opinion and getting to contribute to it, right?
Yeah.
And then that team kind of senses the camaraderie around the new solution.
Yeah, it is it's so true. They all talk, and I remember like when we were launching out this new program, like we would go into the store, say, "Hey, we need your feedback. Let's develop this thing together." And next thing you know, we'd go to store number 2, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I heard about this. Are you asking for our thoughts too?" I was like, "Absolutely, absolutely. We need your thoughts as well." And they kept on just going, like everyone knew about it before it even came there, to the point where it was just like it spread like wildfire because of the excitement and everyone talking. But it was because they were all co-creators of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I can I flip a question to you and ask, when you did that, did you kind of pick a store at random or like how did you go about the selection process of rolling that
Oh,
out?
that's a great question. Yeah, no, it was very purposeful on the one that we picked. We wanted to pick a location that was our best, but that had our greatest champions in. So we looked for the employees that we knew we can trust and wanted to do good. So we found a really great deli manager that we worked with that had a really good crew, and we worked with them first because we knew that they would just rigorously test this thing out and they would tell us the truth and it would get the full support. I see a lot of times like retailers will focus in on their flagship store and then they'll
Yeah.
throw a bunch of hours at it. Like, okay, well, we're just going to throw double the amount of hours that we normally would so this thing would be successful. And then guess what happens? It doesn't work because it's not realistic. So getting a good crew in place and making sure that you have a realistic environment, those are like the two major keys for us to make sure that we ensured not success, but ensured a proper test. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we didn't truly, or I didn't truly care that it failed. My bosses may have, but I didn't truly care if it failed because I wanted to make sure what we were doing was things that were actually going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, if you're trying to innovate and you don't fail a good portion of the time, I don't know that you're really innovating.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know it's the common statements like, you got to fail fast or you got to fail fast or disrupt and disrupt, disrupt to be disrupted. Those like kind of those cliches for innovation, but it is so true. You do need to fail. In this way you can learn from it and keep on building.
Well, I love that answer on the selection piece, and I asked because I've recently, learned the hard way in that regard a few times about what works best, and I really found that using a volunteer army of people who are actively saying, "I want to give feedback and use this even in its unfinished state," really makes all the difference in success of launching something new.
Awesome. I'm glad you found that answer as well because it's something else. When you have the right people, those champions, it's so much more helpful. Another interesting thing too is thinking about like this implementation of a innovation project, like on the corporate side of things or outside of the store or even in the store. Sometimes it's really interesting to attach yourself to the one that is the most negative, like the one that's going to be the most judgmental, mental, and the ones that this is never going to work. Because if you
Yeah.
could work with them and get them to buy in, it's gonna work well because now you've just turned someone from complete like this is never gonna work to all of a sudden, yeah, everyone should be doing this. So if you can get them to champion you, it's huge. So I always love to find the ones in the corporate side of the business that weren't easy to convince or sway because if I knew I can get them, I can get everybody.
It's amazing how often I see people frustrated by the holdouts in a new project, those last people to adopt things. And
Yeah.
like that's where your most value is going to come from is after you launch and you're trying to get that like late majority on board, reaching out directly to the holdouts on the extreme end and saying, what's going on? What's holding you back? Like what can I learn from and how can I make this work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes like all you have to do is have that conversation and everything goes into alignment. You don't have to do everything they say, right? It's not like you have to have that conversation as okay, we're gonna change everything and do it over. No, that's not the case. It's usually they just want to be heard. And then
Yeah,
once they feel heard and they know that you're doing this for a good reason, like that they know the why behind it, like then all of a sudden they're more likely to change their tune just because of that alone.
totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that before.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Ryan. I guess only other question I have right now is thinking about the future. So you've done some really cool things so far, and I'm sure there's a lot more in the pipeline. Like, what do you see like as the next frontier of employee-focused innovation in retail?
I think there is a lot on the horizon. Trying to pick one thing off my very large roadmap wish list of things I want to do. I will say that Legion, our workforce management partner, I've been engaged in a proof of concept with them for a little while now that's very close to coming out, that is going to allow us to essentially take employee level performance data and really put not just the right amount of people at the right times in the store, but put the right people in the right place at the
Yes.
right time. And I'm thrilled for what we've been building together. I've recently just really leaned into this notion on, retail tech and retailer partnerships and that co-innovation that can exist when you really are in a good stage in the partnership. And I think Legion has really leaned into that with us. And so it's been exciting to build alongside them
Hmm.
and think about what we're building, not just in terms of, I want to extract value for Helzberg, which is of course very important to me, but how do I think about this and how can we build it in a way that benefits all of your other clients as well? And think about both sides of the partnership. And so
Yeah.
that's been really exciting.
That's awesome. You have to have those strong partnerships. Like when I was doing a lot of deli work, like Mettler Toledo was a great partner of mine. They have all the scales in almost every single deli across the United States. But having like a strong strategic partnership with them was so important because we could test things fast, bounce ideas off of each other, and it was it was going to benefit us both, right? So it was like, well, let's just work together rather than me work on a scale or things that a scale can do in my lab when you have that ability and I can help guide you based off of the consumer insights and the employee insights that we have. So we were able to just help each other out and build together. And it's amazing how just like that community of thought helps grow innovation even stronger.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Well said.
And like, what are some like of the biggest challenges that have you worried about innovation or retail stores in the next like couple of years?
I've been thinking a lot lately just about agentic AI. I don't think anyone's really got it figured out yet. But when we get to the place where agentic is in the hands of consumers in a not just the 1% of AI enthusiasts who are trying to figure out how they're going to use it, but
Hmm.
when there's actually, a big portion, a big percentage of people who are doing shopping using an agentic AI assistant, I'm very curious how that is going to impact things like customer data capture, things like how do we now interact with a client when there's this layer between us that's never been there before,
Yeah.
and especially in a industry where that emotional connection is so important to the purchase. So I'll be honest, I don't have anything to share in terms of like how I've figured it out, but that's kind of the thing that's on the horizon that is just really on my mind a lot lately, especially just with how fast AI is evolving. It's hard to picture it because that seems a long way off. But when we're
It's not anymore.
doubling power in AI every 3 months, it's like we're talking like this is going to be here in the next year or two.
Yeah, yeah, it's right around the corner. It's evolving so fast. There was a Gartner study that was done recently where they said, I think in the next 12 months, 25% of all searching will be done in AI. So you're losing about 25% of your Google searches. All right. So if I go on to Google and say, where should I buy a diamond engagement ring? Now it's no longer going to be like, diamond engagement ring on Google, but you're going to do that in AI. And if you're not like sorted out, like SEO optimized on Chat GPT, you're
Yeah.
just not going to be seen. So it is really, really interesting and scary on exactly
Feel
how
that
it's going
once
to be
gone
addressed.
because that is me as a consumer. I don't remember the last time I Googled anything.
Yeah.
It's like my large language models have completely taken that over for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't imagine going back anymore.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
completely different. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for everything that you're doing for employees on the front line. I love the approach and I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on and thanks for the invite and the great conversations that you are putting out there, to help all of retail. Much appreciated.
No, thank you, Ryan.
We have made it to the end of another episode. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of things before you go. If you have found value in this episode, I am sure you'll find value in what we have coming up. So please subscribe so you will have access and know when we launch the next episode. Also, leave a review. The more reviews we have, the further our reach becomes, and I truly want this to be heard by as many leaders as possible. Don't hog this all for yourself. I would love to hear your insights on this topic, so meet me on social media at Matt Mueller Innovation on LinkedIn and Instagram. And lastly, if you want to learn more about my story and what I can do for you and your company, go to themindfulinnovator.com. I would love to help you innovate on purpose. Until next time, just remember, bring a level of awareness to each conversation, each observation, each moment, and you can create great change in this world. Thank you.